That invitation should have been the warning. My ex-mother-in-law never invited us anywhere. Not to holidays, not to birthdays. Definitely not to a casual Saturday tour of their frozen food warehouse. But there she was on my doorstep, all smiles, asking if Emma wanted to see where Grandpa's business operated. My daughter Emma, 9 years old, was bouncing on her toes. She'd been begging to see the warehouse ever since her third-grade class learned about supply chains. And here was Patricia, my ex-husband Derek's mother, offering exactly that. "It'll just be a few hours," Patricia said, her smile too wide. "Derek and Vanessa will meet us there. It'll be a nice family thing." Vanessa, Derek's new wife, the one he'd married 6 months after our divorce, the one who posted photos of her family on social media, cropping Emma out of every single shot. I should have said no. But Emma was already grabbing her coat, and I was tired of being the parent who said no to everything. So I nodded. "I'll drive her." "Oh, don't be silly," Patricia waved me off. "We'll bring her back by 4. You deserve a break." Emma hugged me goodbye. I watched them drive away in Patricia's black Mercedes. The license plate read FRZN Queen. She'd always thought that was clever, running a frozen food distribution business. I went back inside. The house felt too quiet. At 3:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. Emma's smartwatch. We'd gotten it for her birthday, one of those devices that tracked her location and let her send quick messages. I'd insisted on it after the divorce, wanting that connection when she was with Derek. The notification was just a location pin, no message. I opened it. The warehouse. That made sense. But something twisted in my gut. Emma knew how to send messages. Why just a location? I called her. No answer. I called Patricia. Straight to voicemail. I called Derek. "Hey, Sarah," he answered, and I could hear traffic in the background. "What's up? Where are you?" "Driving home from the gym." "Why?" "You're supposed to be at the warehouse with Emma." A pause. "What?" "No, Mom said she'd canceled that." Said something came up. The twisting in my gut turned into ice. I was already grabbing my keys. "Derek, Emma's location is showing at the warehouse right now. That doesn't make sense." "Mom told me this morning she wasn't going," she said. He stopped. "I'm turning around. Meet you there." I drove 23 minutes across Portland. Every red light felt like an eternity. I kept checking Emma's location. Still at the warehouse. Not moving. I called Patricia again. Voicemail. I called the warehouse main, an automated system. The industrial district was nearly empty on a Saturday. The warehouse loomed ahead. A massive gray building with Morrison Frozen Foods in faded letters. Patricia and her husband Frank had owned it for 30 years. I pulled into the lot. Patricia's Mercedes was there, so was Frank's truck, and Vanessa's white Lexus. Why was Vanessa here? Derek said the tour was canceled. I tried the front door. Locked. I pounded on it. No answer. Emma's location pin was still active. I pulled up the smartwatch app and checked the details. The GPS coordinates were precise. I calculated quickly. She was in the northwest section of the building. I ran around the side, trying doors. All locked. But there was a loading dock in the back, and one of the bay doors was cracked open about 8 inches. I squeezed through. The temperature dropped immediately. This was the refrigerated section, kept at about 40 degrees. My breath came out in clouds. Emma, no answer. I followed the GPS coordinates on my phone, walking deeper into the warehouse, past pallets of frozen vegetables, past industrial shelving. The temperature kept dropping. And then I saw it, the walk-in freezer, the kind used for long-term storage, the kind that could go down to -20 degrees, the kind with a heavy magnetic seal and an emergency release on the inside that a 9-year-old might not be strong enough to use, the kind with a padlock on the outside, a brand new padlock, the metal still shiny. My hands were shaking as I grabbed it. Locked. "Emma!" I screamed, pounding on the freezer door. And then I heard it. Faint. So faint I almost missed it. A small voice. "Mom?" I have never felt anything like that moment. Pure terror and pure rage mixed into something I didn't have words for. "Emma, baby, I'm here. I'm going to get you out. I'm cold." Her voice was weak. "Mom, I'm so cold." I looked around frantically. Tools. I needed tools. I ran back through the warehouse, searching, and found a maintenance area, bolt cutters. I grabbed them and ran back. The padlock was industrial grade. It took me 4 tries, my hands numb, my breath coming in gasps, before the lock finally snapped. I yanked open the freezer door. Emma was curled in the corner, her lips blue, her whole body shaking. She'd taken off her coat and wrapped it around her legs. Smart girl. Her fingers were white. I grabbed her and ran. Out of the freezer, through the warehouse, outside into the February air that felt warm compared to that freezer. I wrapped her in my own coat, rubbing her hands, her arms. "How long?" I asked. "How long were you in there?" "I don't know," she whispered. Grandma said to wait inside while she got something. Then I heard the door close. I tried to open it, but it wouldn't move. I pushed the emergency thing, but nothing happened. The emergency release. They'd disabled it. I called 911. "I need an ambulance." My daughter was locked in a freezer. She has hypothermia. While we waited, Emma started crying. "I'm sorry, Mom." I kept pressing my watch, trying to call you, but it wouldn't work in there. I finally got the location thing to send. "You did perfect, baby. So perfect." That's when Derek pulled up. He took one look at Emma and went white. "Oh my God, what happened?" I told him. Locked in the freezer, padlocked from outside, his parents, his wife. "No," he said. "No, that can't be right. There has to be an explanation." But his voice wasn't convinced. The ambulance arrived. The EMTs checked Emma's core temperature. 93 degrees. She'd been in there at least 45 minutes, they estimated. Maybe an hour. Much longer and we'd be talking about amputation. Or worse. They took her to the hospital. I rode with her. Derek followed in his car. In the emergency room, while they were warming Emma under controlled conditions, a police officer came to take my statement. I told him everything. The invitation, the location ping, the padlock. "Do you still have the padlock?" he asked. "Yes." "I left it by the freezer door. Don't touch anything else. We'll send someone to secure the scene." Derek was in the hallway, on the phone. I could hear his voice rising. "You need to tell me the truth right now, Mom. Right now." I stepped out. His face was red. "She's claiming it was an accident," he said, "that Emma must have locked herself in somehow. There was a padlock on the outside, Derek. A brand new padlock that required bolt cutters to remove." He stared at me, and then, slowly, I watched something change in his expression, like pieces clicking into place. "The life insurance?" he said quietly. "What?" 3 weeks ago. Mom asked me if we had life insurance on Emma. Said it was smart planning, with kids. Said she'd pay the premiums if we set one up. I thought it was morbid, but Vanessa said we should do it. Said it was responsible. My blood went cold. "How much?" 500,000. Mom's the beneficiary. She said it was cleaner that way, legal stuff, since she was paying. I signed the papers last week. I couldn't breathe. Derek's phone rang. He looked at it. "It's Vanessa," he answered on speaker. "Derek, your mom called. She's freaking out. She said Sarah is making up crazy stories about..." "Where were you this afternoon, Vanessa?" "What?" "Simple question. Where were you?" A pause. "I was running errands." "Your car is at the warehouse." "I'm looking at the parking lot on the security camera app right now." Silence. "Vanessa, Emma was locked in a freezer. She almost died, and you were there. It wasn't supposed to." She stopped. "Derek, you don't understand. Your mother said it would be quick. She said Emma wouldn't suffer. She said it would look like an accident, like she wandered in and got stuck. She said we'd finally be free of child support. We could start over." Derek's face went white, then red, then something beyond color. "You're on speaker," he said quietly. "And I'm recording." The line went dead. I grabbed his arm. "Send that recording to my phone. Right now." He did. Emma was in the hospital for 2 days. Mild frostbite on 3 fingers. Hypothermia. Shock, but alive. While she recovered, I did something I never thought I'd do. I didn't call Patricia. I didn't confront anyone. I called a lawyer. His name was Marcus Chen, and he specialized in family law and criminal defense. I played him the recording. I showed him the timeline, the life insurance policy, The padlock I'd had the police secure as evidence. Don't say anything to anyone, Marcus advised. Not on social media, not to friends, nothing. Let them think you're scared or confused or whatever they want to think. The police are building a case. You stay quiet and let them work. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Patricia called me. I didn't answer. She texted, "We need to talk about this misunderstanding." I didn't respond. Frank showed up at my house. I didn't open the door. Derek, to his credit, filed for full custody immediately and moved out of the house he'd shared with Vanessa. He came to see Emma every day in the hospital, and I watched him look at his daughter like he was seeing her for the first time. "I'm so sorry," he told me on the third day. "I was so focused on starting over with Vanessa, I didn't see what they were doing. I didn't protect her." "You're protecting her now," I said. 2 weeks later, the arrests happened. Patricia Morrison, attempted murder. Frank Morrison, attempted murder, conspiracy. Vanessa Morrison, attempted murder, conspiracy. The evidence was overwhelming. The life insurance policy taken out weeks before. The disabled emergency release inside the freezer. The padlock purchased with Patricia's credit card the day before. The security footage showing all three of them at the warehouse, showing them leaving together while Emma was still inside, and Vanessa's recorded confession. The prosecutor called it one of the most clear-cut cases she'd ever seen. The trial took 4 months. I sat through every day of it, watching Patricia's lawyer try to claim it was a misunderstanding, that the padlock was for inventory security, and someone accidentally locked the wrong door. That Emma must have wandered in. That the emergency release was broken, by coincidence. The jury didn't buy it. Neither did the judge. When the verdicts came in, I held Emma's hand. She was 10 now, old enough to understand. "Guilty," the foreman said. And again, and again. Patricia got 15 years. Frank got 12. Vanessa, because she'd actually spoken the words on that recording, because she'd admitted it was intentional, got 18. But that wasn't the end. Marcus filed a civil suit. Emotional distress, attempted wrongful death, negligence, every charge we could think of. We won. The Morrison family business, the warehouse, the house Patricia was so proud of, the investment accounts, all of it. We didn't want the money for ourselves. Emma's therapy was already covered by Derek's insurance, and I had a good job. But we wanted them to have nothing, to lose everything they'd been willing to kill for. The court agreed. The assets were liquidated. The money went into a trust for Emma, for college, for whatever she needed. The warehouse was sold to a competitor. Patricia and Frank's house went to a young family who had no idea about its history. And Emma? She started seeing a trauma therapist. Some days were harder than others. She didn't like being cold anymore. She slept with 3 nightlights. But she was alive. She was safe. Derek and I weren't getting back together. Too much had happened. But we'd found a way to co-parent that actually worked. He'd divorced Vanessa while she was awaiting trial. He'd cut all contact with his parents. "I chose wrong," he told me once, watching Emma play in the backyard. "I chose their approval over my own daughter. I'll spend the rest of my life making that right." 6 months after the sentencing, Emma asked me a question. "Mom, why didn't you yell at them? After you found me, why didn't you scream at Grandma?" I thought about it. About that moment when I could have confronted Patricia, could have let my rage take over. But instead, I'd stayed silent, collected evidence, built a case. "Because yelling wouldn't have protected you," I said. "Making sure they could never hurt you again. That's what mattered." She nodded slowly. "You were smart. I was your mom. That's what moms do." Sometimes I think about that invitation, that too wide smile, that offer that should have been my warning. And I think about how close we came. 45 minutes in a freezer, set to -15 degrees. Patricia's lawyer had argued in court that Emma wasn't in real danger, that the cold wouldn't have killed her that fast. The prosecutor had brought in an expert who explained exactly how long a 9-year-old could survive in those conditions. How the body shuts down, how the cold steals consciousness before it steals life. 20 more minutes, the expert had said. Maybe 30. That's all Emma had left when I found her. 20 minutes between my daughter and death. 20 minutes that Patricia and Frank and Vanessa had counted on. I don't know if I did everything right. Some days I wonder if I should have seen it coming sooner, if there were signs I missed. But I know I did one thing right. I didn't stay quiet for them. I stayed quiet for her. And when the time came, when we had everything we needed, I let the evidence speak. Patricia sent me a letter from prison last month. I didn't open it. I don't need her explanation or her excuses or her apology. I have Emma. She's learning piano now. She wants to be a veterinarian. She still doesn't like the cold, but she's not afraid of it anymore. She's learning that she's stronger than the things that tried to break her. And me? I'm learning that sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't to fight back immediately. Sometimes it's to stay calm, to collect evidence, to protect your child not just in the moment, but in every moment that comes after. Patricia thought she could get away with it. She thought a locked freezer and a convenient accident story would be enough. She didn't count on a 9-year-old smart enough to send a location pin. She didn't count on a mother who would break through industrial locks with her bare hands. And she definitely didn't count on the fact that silence, real strategic silence, can be louder than any scream. Emma asks me sometimes if I'm angry, if I hate them. I tell her the truth. I'm not angry anymore. Anger burns out. But I'll never forget. And I'll never let her forget that she survived something that was meant to destroy her. That's not anger. That's power. And that's something they can never take away.